One of the things that really caught my eye when I was thinking about buying the CB1000R was the gorgeous colour on this petrol tank. Too rich for a grey, too deep to be silver. I think it looks absolutely brilliant on this machine. The only problem is it seems that the paint from Honda nowadays is actually based on cheese, and this is closer to a metallic mozzarella than it is to a real paint job. So in order to give this a bit of protection, and hopefully also increase the custom look of my machine, I'm going to take the bold step of giving this tank a brushed titanium vinyl wrap. Now, it's hotter than Satan's egg basket in here, so I'm going to hurry up, get this tank off, take it up to the lab and get it wrapped. Right then, well here we are and got the tank mounted onto my tabletop protecting tabletop with a bunch of random metal connecting right angles and the old handlebar clamp from the Versys, plus some GoPro gubbins and some cable ties obviously, because I've learned from experience it's good to have the tank as fixed as possible, so that's not going anywhere. I've got my Avery Dennison brushed titanium vinyl, which as you can see is a pretty good match with the original silver of the tank there, so it's not going to be too much of a massive change for the look of the bike. But before we get onto that, I need to do a bit of prep. First of all, these R&G tank pads on the side here, they've been really good. They protected the tank, give me some good grip on the side of the tank when I'm braking and cornering and such, but sadly the adhesive has given up and they're starting to come away. Luckily, R&G were pretty cool about it and they've sent me a new set. Whether I fit these or not depends entirely upon how successful I am with the actual wrap itself, so we'll have to wait and see with that. But in any case, they need to come off. And the R&G badge which comes out of the hole that's left in the pad, which is a fine exercise in multi-branding if ever I've seen one. Right, with them off, the next thing that comes to my attention is these badges. I've never really liked these badges. They stick out too much, they're horrible and plasticky looking, and to be honest, they don't even really fit the tank all that well. Plus, it's going to be a nightmare trying to cut vinyl around this thing, so they're just going to come off. And I'm going to achieve this by heating it with my tiny little travel hairdryer. Almost matches the tank, doesn't it? It's almost like I planned it. That's nice and warm. There's a little leak-off hole underneath here in the badge. Get a screwdriver underneath it. Pull it off. There's the badge. There's a little hole at the bottom I was talking about. It sadly has left a little bit of a mess, so you have a bit of work to just peel what's left of the glue off here. And then with most of the stuff off, there's a little splash pure alcohol. Completely get rid of everything that's left. That looks like it was never there. Brilliant. And while I'm here with an alcohol-soaked cloth, I'll get rid of the residue from the tank pad as well. So the next step is going to be removing the petrol cap, and that's just 5 bolts around the edge. Once they're out, pop in the key, unlock the cap, and it comes straight out. And I'm going to stick a rag in there as well, just to stop me from accidentally dropping anything in there, and to stop any extra fumes coming out and igniting while I'm heating the tank with a hairdryer. Okay, now comes the final prep section. I actually washed the bike in the car wash just yesterday before I took the tank off, so it's relatively clean already, but just to make sure there's no extra grease and stuff, I've got alcohol on a cloth. Well, that is about as clean as it's going to get. So we are practically ready to wrap. Just for bragging rights, and because I kind of want to see if I can do it, and because the likable rider bet me a pint, I'm going to try and wrap this in one piece of vinyl. Looking at it now on the table, I'm thinking maybe that was a bit of a silly choice, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. But that doesn't mean I don't need to worry about where I'm going to be having cuts and things, because obviously I'm going to want to cut the vinyl around the edge of the tank. I've also decided I'm going to keep the silver bit at the back so that the tank keeps tied into the rest of the aluminium parts on the rest of the bike. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some of this stuff. This is absolutely fantastic. This is 3M Knifeless Tape finish line. Links to all of the stuff that I'll use in this video obviously will be in the description below. I'm going to run some of this around this bottom edge, and I'm going to come slightly above where it goes around the corner, just to give myself a fighting chance, because once I get round to this point, I'm not going to want to deal with then going further underneath the tank. So I'm just going to give myself a little edge, which means there's going to be a tiny little original metallic grey edge around there. But as we've already seen, the colour isn't so different, so that's not going to be too much of a glaring thing to see. And what this knifeless tape basically is a cutting filament on a piece of tape backing. So you stick this down, you can then pull the filament through the vinyl, and that gives you your cut without having to use knives. So I am going to start on this back edge here along this silver line, because that's a good place to start, and then run the knifeless tape all the way along the edge of the bottom of the tank, round the front, over the top, and then back over the other side. That's just the bottom edge is done. Now the silver bit at the back. And once again, I'm going to give myself a fighting chance by cutting the corner there. And we really are finally ready to wrap. I'm going to need practically the whole sheet. Right, it was a tiny bit disappointing because I had hoped that I had enough to maybe cock it up once and then start again, but it looks like that's not the case, so I'm just gonna have to go for it. He who dares wins, Rodders. He who dares wins. With the hairdryer and the squeegee at hand, get ready for the time lapse. Hopefully there'll be no reason for me to stop and swear.
Well, there we go, more or less. I've got it all the way around on this side, but unfortunately there's quite a lot about it I don't like. Already you can see in this light particularly, there's this stretch line here. It shows where I've stretched it too much at that point. That's a real shame. Plus, I've just worked this front corner so much, I can't imagine that's going to stick for a great deal of time. It's a real shame, because from the back, it's really looking pretty good. Just wish I hadn't cocked it up so much. But anyway, I'm going to carry on with the other side. It's pretty much going to be the same struggles as this side, so I'll save you the boredom. You can join me again when it comes to the next interesting stage. Right then, well that is the other side also done. Sadly, it was a repeat of the right side.
a little bit too much stretching, particularly to the edges. Not the job I had quite hoped for, so there's a bit of weird swirling and stuff, but I'm gonna run with it. It is on there. There aren't any huge ripples or holes or anything, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it like it is for now, for the short term. I'm gonna save the RNG pads, and I'm gonna do it again, but only doing the top and the sides, and leaving these scallops out the side uncovered in order to put the pads on, because all the tension comes from me trying to stretch everything towards the back and towards the front in order to create enough slack, or no, the opposite, in order to create enough tension to take up the extra material that's in this cutout. And that means I've overworked the front, I've overworked the back, and everything is less than ideal. But it doesn't look awful. And to be honest, if I'd have wanted a professional job, I probably should have got a professional to do it. And that I am not. So I'm going to carry on by taking care of the filler cap. So just need to cut a circle in that. So now I'll take care of these cuts. Actually worked pretty well, to be honest. That's it, we're pretty much done. So then, just as a final little half-arsed precaution, I'm just going to try and do a bit of an approximation of what they call post-heating, which is to try and remove the memory of the stuff. So I'm just going to put as much heat as I possibly can with a travel hairdryer into the areas around the edges where I put the most stress and tension. I don't know how much of a difference this is really going to make, but anyway. So I'm going to get on with doing this, then I'll meet you back in the garage when we get on with putting this tank back on the bike. There we go. That is the new brushed titanium vinyl wrap tank back on the CB1000R. And to be honest, now that it's back on the bike, I'm not quite as disappointed with it as I thought I was going to be. Sure, there's a few nasty stretch marks here and there. There's a couple of imperfections on some of the corners. The edges around the front and the bottom are really, they're not the best. Overworked the vinyl, overstretched it, asked too much of the adhesive, and the look has paid the price, sadly. Although, I think, to be honest, props to myself a little bit that as an amateur to attempt a tank like this all in one piece, the fact that I didn't throw it out the window having a teary-eyed tantrum is a win already as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think this is definitely going to be attempt one of at least 2 attempts, because I need to try it again. I think I can do better. Maybe there's a better way I can do it. If any of you've got any tips, please do leave them in the comments below. I'm always happy to hear anything, because as an amateur, I don't know everything, and I probably can get better. Already I've done a few things to give me a bit of a fighting chance. I've put a strip all the way around the bottom edge and up to the front on both sides, just to kind of protect the edge a little bit from the elements, stop it from peeling up within the first 5 minutes. The stretch marks, there's nothing really I can do about it, so I'm just gonna have to see how long I can deal with it before they really start to annoy me. But in any case, watch this space for attempt number 2, and also watch this space for seeing this brushed titanium tank flying around in the mountains very soon, because there's a trip coming up. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, that's everything for today. Thank you so very much for watching. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I will see you next time. Ta-ra.